who they are as people, and then inject that into the ethos of each campaign, which is why when you're a real passionate fan, and I ask everyone here to think like whomever their favorite artist is, what would you love to see from your favorite artist? I had this conversation with a manager for one of my favorite artists a couple of weeks ago, and I said, you'll allow me to stream his record for very little money through Spotify. You'll allow me to download it for whatever the wholesale price is on iTunes. I might buy a vinyl from an indie store. I might buy a T-shirt from his website. But if you put together the right bundle that had 2 lines from, handwritten from one song and a T-shirt and a download and a vinyl, I can't give you $500 fast enough. You're not giving me a chance to spend my money as a passionate fan. I have 10 artists in my life that I'm in that place for. I have probably 500. I'm fine just clicking play. So that's the point. That's really what we try and facilitate here. What is the ethos of the artist? How do they want to convey that across the platform? And that really lights up that passionate fan.
And a talking point that we surfaced a few years ago, we report our sales to SoundScan. So when Nielsen had to approve us, they were very curious as to our business. So they did a deep dive on us and other D2C type of companies. And what they discovered was that the music industry, not just the record companies, but touring, merch, everything, leaves $2.6 billion on the table. And that was a few years ago, so I wouldn't be surprised if that number has now increased because these super fans want these special kind of items. They want the signed test pressings, the handwritten lyric sheets, the special VIP experiences, the attend a sporting event with your favorite artist. But until we and a few other type of platforms came along, there was really no place to be able to get that as a fan. So we see how crazy and excited these fans get when we'll put something very limited, very exclusive, and really related to the artist as who he or she is as a person on the platform. Those things usually sell out, within minutes. It's pretty amazing to watch. And you also have to remember that as a true fan, you love the artist as who they are, the all-encompassing person. You don't just love their music. You know if they have a dog, what that dog's name is. You know what kind of car they drive. So the more they're willing to engage you as that human being, not just as this person who's made this record, the fans really, really respond to that and really will come to the table with that. It's amazing to see. We have a discussion board within every campaign. And when an artist does something really cool and unique content-wise, whether it's behind the scenes in the studio, first listen to a track, artwork reveal, here I am at the roadside stop while I'm on tour in between, Pittsburgh and Ohio, you'll see the fans start to chatter. And it's really exciting when you see, 200 comments on an artist's update within, like I said, a relatively small, compared to our competition, micro platform. It's an amazing thing to again, provide this place for the fans to talk amongst themselves. Once in a while, the artist will jump in and comment on something the fan said. And I don't really know any other e-commerce related platform that allows that kind of back and forth to happen.
And I think the point is that, we live in a world where music is free and ubiquitous. You don't have to pay for it. You can get access to it at any time. So as that world continues to evolve, it's going to create more and more of an appetite for real engagement. You become a real fan, you're going to want more. Where are you going to find more? That's one of the reasons why vinyl exploded. It's the first indicator that this type of marketplace is going to explode, because it's really the very natural progression from, okay, I like this artist, I like clicking play, but I want more, so I want the tactile experience. I'm going to buy the vinyl. Now that's an artifact. It sits on my coffee table. I frame it on the wall. I may or may not play it. A vast majority of vinyl gets purchased, never gets played. It's like an artifact. But that fan has that passion connection, so they want to take that leap. We really explode that idea into a multitude of ways for fans to engage and really come along for the ride. So, Adam, why don't you talk a bit about just macro view, not to bludgeon you with stats, but to give you a sense of really, what our community is comprised of.
Sure. So yeah, it's a little difficult to see, but I'll read through it for you. So our community across the 3 platforms, it's 3 million plus and growing at a rate of 25,000 new users a month. We have a weekly newsletter split across the U.S. and rest of the world. So about 600,000 plus people that we're hitting weekly, letting them know about new campaigns, new releases, new opportunities. And we're seeing a 25% open rate on average, which for anyone who knows anything about e-commerce, that's kind of amazing. When I first started, coming from Mexican Summer, it was a 0.07% open rate, and I thought, something must be wrong, but it's real. And we really, what we're seeing is, we're seeing a very engaged fan community who is spending. They're voting with their dollars, as Dom likes to say. Their average transaction on PledgeMusic is $55 a head. And when you compare that to $7 for a digital album, 90 cents for a track, or however many fractions of a penny you're getting on Spotify, it's legitimate. It's real money. We also our model is unique in that we pay 51% right after street date, which you're not, you don't get that. If you're working through a label, obviously it depends on what your deal is. You're getting paid quarterly or biannually. We really allow you to monetize basically everything. It doesn't have to just be the music. It can be, like one of the examples on the previous slide was, we'll sell a disposable camera, and people will buy them like that. You have no idea what you're getting. It could be the artist that just took photos at home or in the studio, and you're able to just sell someone a camera that then they need to process the film. It's crazy, but people love it. And really, like I said, we have an engaged fan base. So much so that on average, we're seeing 35% of sales coming from our PledgeMusic community, and that's from a variety of things, not just the weekly newsletters, but we'll do targeted newsletters to specific to one artist. It's all we have a recommendation engine, so everything. We're really, we're not going to bludgeon our community with things that they don't want to see. So we're very tasteful with the way that we message, and we will work hand in hand with the artists. We'll, if we have access to an artist's socials, we'll post dark ads on their Facebook page. We'll do retargeting. I mean, we have pixels everywhere. I mean, it's like the marketing efforts at this company are not to be blunt, but they're second to none.
And look, I think when you look at these stats, we're not at the scale of a user base of a Spotify or an Apple Music, or how many credit cards Apple may have on file at any given moment. The point is the 3 million people with us have voted with their dollars, with their data, because they love this passionate fan marketplace environment. They know they're going to get access to really amazing things they can't find anyplace else. We put it in front of them. That open rate in the newsletter is 25%. There's an anticipation for that, like what's cool going to be in here this week that I've never seen before. I can get guitar strings that were used in a studio on the making of a record. That's amazing. I'm never going to find that unless I spend way too much money for it on eBay, which may not be real. We're an authentic source of this type of access. So that's how this community has been built. This company's never done outside promotion. It's all been built organically by people voting to be with us with their dollars or their data, and that's a really, really powerful statistic. And what's amazing about it from a developing artist standpoint, which is a huge piece of our business, about 20% of our business are totally unsigned artists. But when we get an artist like a Lyra Lynn in our platform, who is a Nashville-based singer-songwriter, signed to Sans Foley Entertainment, which is an independent label. I actually had them at Caroline when I was president of Caroline previously. Lyra is an amazing artist who was in the last season of True Detective as the performing artist on screen, and Thibaut Burnett took a liking to her. And we now took Lyra's project now in her second campaign and marketed that to fans that have transacted with us for Melissa Etheridge or Katie Tunstall or Emily Saliers from the Indigo Girls. So there's a massive amount of discovery that happens for a new artist because we understand our user base in a way in terms of appetites, genre, likes, demographics, so we're able to really get new artists exposed in a way that would be very hard to do in any other platform. You hope to get that playlisting spot, you hope to get that push email from Amazon, which you may or may not get. And by the way, we want everyone to be great with every platform. So the more artists can be great with Spotify, that will create more, hopefully, passionate fans that will eventually wind up with us, because we want to help them make the transition, get the most people, fish in the biggest pond possible, but then when they really become a fan, bring them to us because they're going to want more, and we facilitate that. So the ACCESSPASS is really one of the key marketing vehicles, and the guys have referenced this a couple of times in the conversation today. So Adam, maybe just talk a bit about what this vehicle is, because this is really the direct communication medium for PledgeMusic between the artist and the fan that drives a lot of business.
Yeah, so this is what Lee was referencing before in terms of artist updates on the campaign, and really going back to his example of Nika Costa and that fan posting on on Instagram. And like that was sort of, it was lucky that Nika saw it and engaged on that platform. What we try to explain to people is, artists that will post on Instagram, they're like, well, I've got a great Instagram following. I was like, okay, well, what do all those likes mean? What do you get for that? What is the return on attention? Why not post those updates, post that video on PledgeMusic, where you have your store, you have all of these items for sale, and you can talk about those items. You can talk about anything. I mean, it can be, it could be a video post, it could be an unveiling of the artwork, an unveiling of the track listing, all of these little items that you would have put out on Facebook now comes back to PledgeMusic. So if an artist posts an update, it gets syndicated through socials. So anyone who has bought on PledgeMusic, that update will show on their Facebook feed. And if it's a video, it's limited to first 30 seconds of the clip, and anyone who now sees that 30 seconds, wants to see the whole thing, has to come into the sort of walled garden of the Access Pass, come into the store, and once you have paid for that Access Pass, which you get along with the purchase of any item, you then get to see the entire stream of updates. So even if you've come to the party late and the campaign's been up for 3 months, there's everything. It's all there. And this is really, like Lee was saying, this is where artists and fans are really interacting. So the artist will post an update, and the fan can comment right there, and and have this open dialogue, this open communication.
So it almost turns the platform into an artist's own fan club, in that you're providing all this extra value-add content that doesn't go to your social platforms, your public-facing social platforms. We don't ever expect you to go dark on public, and actually the campaign managers have really great strategies on how to alternate between the public and the walled garden to draw more and more attention to the campaign. We do find, we have a very significant data tracker in our back end, and we find when you post an update, especially a significant one, whether it's a video from behind the scenes in the studio or a tour rehearsal or something like that, we'll see an exponential increase in traffic to that page, and ideally a conversion into actual transactions around that traffic.
So we have a couple of case studies we wanted to share just to kind of show you, fully realize what these campaigns look like, and then the analytics we share. Then we'll open up to any questions you may have. So here's Blind Pilot, which was a campaign we ran late last year. So Adam, why don't you walk us through some of the stats here?
Sure. So like I said, like on average, we're seeing a $55 per head transaction on Blind Pilot. We're very close to that number with the $47 average transaction over 1,200 pre-orders. And we were able to calculate and see that of that first week, we were 25% of SoundScan sales. And just so you can see here, there's just a couple of the examples of the exclusives that were included in this campaign. So there were exclusive T-shirts, there was a bundle, hand-painted watercolors, test pressings. Test pressings are sort of, it's sort of found money. It's people always think, well, I only get 2 test pressings. Well, you can order as many test pressings as you want. You can order 50, you can order 100. And we're selling those for $100, $150 each. I mean, we had a campaign with Cimarelli, which is a largely tween audience. They don't know what a test pressing is, but we sold out of them.
So just to put a pin on that $47 average user transaction and 25% of SoundScan. So imagine if the label, if the artist, if the management team had decided to not do a pledge campaign, 25% of their sales would have come at a $7 wholesale, or whatever the CPM streaming rate was, or whatever the vinyl wholesale price was. We ratcheted up for a quarter of their pre-sale, a much more significant revenue number, and gave them all the data. So they also know who every one of those fans are, of those 1,200 fans that pre-ordered the record. They can speak to them directly now. Every other transaction beyond that 25%, they have no information on that fan other than maybe zip code.
That's why increasingly we're seeing so many independent labels and distribution companies approach us about doing pre-orders, even if they don't have the expectations of doing thousands and thousands of orders. They still want to know who that fan is and be able to have direct access to them, be able to ping them via email or whatnot, and ultimately kind of see what they like and kind of what ultimately is sticking out in terms of purchases. So certainly the example of Blind Pilot, they're on ATO, and it's just one of any number of labels that we've engaged with. So like likes of 30 Tigers and New West, for instance, tend to put a whole plethora of their releases through us, and just a lot more to come ultimately there.
So Lindsey Sterling is another great example of, as opposed to an independent artist released through a label, Lindsey essentially self-released. And I actually helped with the first record through Caroline in my previous life, and Lee was involved in both campaigns. This is her second campaign with us. We wound up being a massive percentage of first week sales for what was a #2 debut for her. So Lee, why don't you talk briefly about Lindsey?
I mean, Lindsey she's the perfect artist for the platform because she is so socially active. She's got, billions of YouTube views, tons of Facebook followers, and they want to hear what she has to say. Watching her campaign was incredibly exciting because she did the long lead like Scott was talking about when she went in the studio. This third album of hers was quite a departure for her because she had a lot of guest vocalists. If you know Lindsey Sterling, she's an instrumental artist who's had a guest vocal or two in the past, but this one, she had everybody from Rivers Cuomo to Christina Perri, ZZ Ward, a ton of, much better known artists. So when Lindsey was running the campaign, she would tease her fans. She had Christina Perri come in for her first vocal collaboration, and so her update for that one was Collaboration Station. So it was Lindsey, very obvious, and there was Christina Perri with a flannel shirt, hair in her face, hat, head down. You couldn't tell who it was. And so Lindsey was trying to tease the audience. And the amazing thing to see was she posted this, kind of letting you guess who this was. I had no idea, even though I knew that, Christina Perri was coming up. But within literally 30 minutes of her posting that and 100 comments, some guy jumps in and he goes, "Oh my God, I know it's Christina Perri. Look at that tattoo on her thumb." And to me, the tattoo looked literally like a Sharpie smudge. I couldn't even see that it was actually a tattoo. So the fans went wild. They kind of unveiled who this guest was. That only created even more excitement. So, Lindsey is really a best practice example of what we can do with the platform. On the previous campaign to this, she sold over 500 pink vinyl gatefold pieces of this beautiful artwork with the album, and that was a $50 or $60 per item. So she sold a ton of these, and like Cimarelli, she has an audience that skews very young and very female. And to Dominic's point, I imagine a huge percentage of these fans don't even have turntables. So they were buying this as sort of a badge of fandom, like when I used to go to concerts and buy the concert program all the time, because I needed something to commemorate and kind of brag about my love for this artist. But when you get somebody like that, who really knows how to work socials, who knows how to drive traffic, you really see the best of what we have to offer. And as Dominic said, we were a significant part of her first week SoundScan, but even more important and more impressive to both us and her entire team was we were 51% of her overall first week revenue, meaning little old PledgeMusic beat Amazon, iTunes, Best Buy with their exclusive, Target with their exclusive, all of those combined. So, with an artist like that, we really see the power of the platform. And the fact that she came back for a second go-round was a real testament to what a great job they felt that we did on the first record. And, Lindsey could have gone anywhere because she's friends with people in all kinds of different realms. So she was getting pulled by Jack at Patreon, who she's friends with from their YouTube ventures together, but she really chose to put her trust and faith in us, and we like to feel like we really overserved both her team, and her audience.
So in addition to new or even somewhat established artists or fully established artists like a Willie Nelson, et cetera, that we've done great work with, Cage the Elephant, we're also a really great catalog platform. And when you speak to the idea of a passionate fan, well, that's a baked-in audience that is very easy to go after, and always are looking for unique ways to engage content. So the Erasure box set was driven out of the UK in partnership with BMG, and this was kind of, I'll give you three-pronged kind of journey on Erasure. The first step was to do some individual vinyl reissues. We started to build the Erasure user base within our community. We then graduated to this full-blown box set, and when you look at some of the stats here, the average transaction was $140. 38% of the sales came from our community, so these are fans that may have never known or cared about an Erasure box set. We made it feel important to our crazy music fans, and I mean that, in terms of their passion within our community. So a big percentage of the revenue came from us. They would have had to find this on an Amazon or another platform as opposed to us pushing it to fans we know would care. And you can see there's a fair amount of return business as well. So 53% bought the item in the store had made purchases in previous erasure campaigns. So we started to build that following with the vinyl reissues. We then expanded it to the box set, and then we've launched recently their new album pre-order, which they were self-releasing. So there's this journey that the band's taken with us from reverence for their legacy, put something amazing in front of the fans in a box set. Now let's go forward with the new album and leverage that community that we've built. So an amazing story. We can give you countless examples of whether it be Weird Al Yankovic or even Sgt. Pepper we have on the platform right now, a partnership with the Universal Music Group through Frankie Goes to Hollywood and many other catalog initiatives that again, we can get to those passionate fans as opposed to trying to commoditize a catalog offering. Say, okay, we're going to get this box set merchandise. Who's really going to care? We know Amazon will. Beyond that, it's kind of a crapshoot. We can explode the idea of a unique catalog offering into a multitude of ways for fans to engage, and then just make what the fans pre-order. So there's no risk on manufacturing, which you may have to do if you're just trying to ship something general market. How many erasure they would have sold just making it general market? Who knows? They did release this general market following the Pledge campaign. They were recouped on this before it went general market, so it was a hugely profitable project for them at BMG. So let's talk a little bit about analytics. Adam, if you maybe want to walk through some of the data here. So this gives you a snapshot of the type of analytics that every one of our clients gets. So the artist, the label, the manager, et cetera. This is with the depth of which they understand what's happening with the fans in our platform.
Yeah. So what you're seeing here is a weekly status report, which is normally just in one email, and just sort of parsed it out across the screen for you to see. So you really get a sense of how the campaign is performing within the current week versus all time. You can keep track of your fulfillment here. You can see what your best-selling items are, what your best-selling item is of the last 7 days versus all times. What is the top earning items. The traffic, I think, is really the most interesting stat for us, because that's where we really see how much of the traffic is being driven by specific Pledge marketing initiatives. So whether people are coming to it just from the platform itself versus our targeted newsletters, all of that is tracked here, and you can see again on a week-by-week basis how our efforts are performing. You can also, I don't know if you can see there, but we'll even tie revenue to the updates. So if you can't see it probably, but there is an update here about the billboard feature, and that feature led to 231 pledges worth $13,000. So you can actually connect. This is sort of this concept of that's your return on attention. You're able to put a dollar value on creating content, creating an update for these fans to see.
And I think that's really something that growing up in record companies like we all have here on this panel is, we would often celebrate that we got 500 likes or 5,000 likes on an update on, well, here's our album cover reveal, or here's our, we were walking into a 7-Eleven in Michigan, and that goes up as an update, and 500 people like it. We would celebrate those. We actually monetize every update, so the fan or the artist can communicate, in the same way and even more deeply, tying to their project and tying to the campaign. And every time there's an update, there's an opportunity for the fan to engage and purchase. So there's an album cover artwork reveal. There's a limited edition T-shirt that goes along with that. Let's give that fan and feed that super fan something every time the artist communicates with them directly. And then you get a snapshot of what the effect is here. And just a couple of other things to mention here. If you look at that center wheel, it's tough to see, but that actually provides insight into how the fan came to the platform. So through the artist tweeting about the Pledge campaign, X percentage came to the campaign. Through them promoting through their Facebook, X percentage came to the campaign. From us promoting to our community,